So what can
So
I use as a tray like you have?
Do you have red and white?
Red and
No,
white.
I have a dark orange and light orange.
Well, you can use what other colors do you have? Do you have any other colors other than orange? So right now I'm just.
No, I have orange.
I have orange. And
orange
and the white color mix.
Yeah, you can basically, if you don't have red or pink, you can try this painting with any other color. It will look a bit different. You can try the orange and just add white. Okay. It will be an orange flamenco. That's fine. So I'm mixing a pink right now, a darker pink. So I just grab my red.
Is there any size brush we should be using?
For the outline, I like to use a smaller one, a flat brush. And remember that whenever I'm drawing or painting, I like to hold my brush all the way back because that makes me stand a little bit further back for my painting. If I am too close, I start to let's say here. If I only look at this part, I start to draw things differently than if I look at the entire picture. So it's always important to hold your brush all the way back. If it's uncomfortable, you can start over here. And as you get more comfortable, farther back. For the drawing, if you have lots of sizes for brushes, you can use the flat, smaller one. If you have only one or two, the smaller one works. So you can follow my lead, or you can wait for me to get started so you actually know what you're looking at. And sorry, can I get you to mute your mic so there's no echo? Okay, I'm gonna put this right here. Sorry, so we can follow along. So I like to draw, a lot of the times I like to draw the background first, but because I do want to finish this painting in this class, we'll just go ahead and get started with our picture. So I like to compare and kind of imagine what the middle section is for my flamingo here. And then I just start to make reference points for myself. So this is the head. The neck starts over here. So this is just a very rough guideline for myself. If you're not too sure how big to draw it, it's better to always draw it smaller, because after we start painting, things tend to get larger. And I don't have too much paint on my brush. That's what I want. So a very rough reference for guidelines. All of this will get covered with paint. Yeah.
How do we get darker red like yours when our red is so bright? Can we make it darker?
Yes. So if you have green, just put a dot of green on your red. A little
dot.
Green.
Okay, thank you.
Just a very small dot.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, if some of you may remember last year, we did the color wheel. And anytime you have I don't know if you're familiar with it, but anytime you have a color wheel, and I'll show you in just 2 seconds. If you want to make a color darker, you just add the opposite color and just a tiny bit. It makes it darker. You can also add black, but I find that if you add the opposite color, it's more like a deeper color. Just let me show you what I'm talking
Yours
about.
is almost look like purple.
Mhm. It's also the type of red you have.
Yeah, we
There's
don't.
a lot of reds on the market. It's hard to get the exact same as mine, and it's fine. Whatever red you have, that's fine. This is just for you to have fun and practice. If later you want to redo it again, remember we always upload the classes on YouTube so you can redo them later. So this is what I'm talking about. Anytime you get a color and you want to make it darker, just add the opposite, just a little drop,
Hold on, let me
and then
take a
it will make
picture.
it
Thank
dark.
you.
Mhm. So if let's say I have blue and it's too light, I want to make it darker, I go the opposite. So I add a little bit of orange. Or if it's hard to remember, you can just add
Silvanna, can you
black.
hold up the color wheel again? I just want to repeat that in Chinese for them. 老師
Oh,
話
sure.
咧，如果你個紅色唔夠深，係咪？你要整佢再深啲咧，你加青色，你睇紅色對青
This
色。
color is called color wheels? Is that right?
Yes, color wheel.
Okay, thank you. I can Google it and find out.
So right now I just grabbed, you don't have to get a perfect color right now. It's just a shade of pink to draw the outline.
Yeah.
家范，sorry Silvanna，家范你讲什么？我不会看中文啊。
我就说老师是用全英文上课的吗？
他是学英语上课的，不过这里也是有很多人不会听英语的，不过你跟老师做就可以了，不需要听很多英语啊哈。
哦，我就听不懂啊。
So I'm just drawing the basic outline shape. If you later want to repeat this painting or any painting we create, you can start by drawing with pencil, but like I said, it's always nice to improve your skills with just drawing with your paint, and it saves time as well. So I'm just drawing the outline here, the curves I see. Remember to check your proportions.
Hello?
係啊，唔緊要啦，佢今個禮拜都買平。
So remember, like I have mentioned in the past, I like to measure my proportions with your brush or even with your finger. So I look at my picture and I think, how many times can I fit the head like this into the body? So it's one, maybe 1.5, or maybe 1.25. So I like to imagine the same here. So maybe let's say if I draw the head like this, it's 1, that's maybe too big, maybe a little bit smaller. 1.5, yeah, I think that's good. So I make a little dot for the end of the peak right there. At this point, I don't usually do that often, but if you think that something doesn't look right on your painting, measure things against each other. So measure the head versus the body, and so on. And that way you can get a very good sense of what is too big or what is too small. So I like to do a very rough outline. I think we're almost done with our outline, and then we'll start with our actual paint, like for the feathers and that stuff like that. And so for the legs, I do want to measure. So one leg is just as big as basically the entire neck. So I measure that. This is how big the leg, or how long the leg was. So I make a dot. Let me just lower the camera. This is them kind of like their knee that bends backward. So for the outline, I don't like to put too much paint because we're gonna cover it anyways. And then the other knee maybe is over here. If we can very close to the other one. And this one goes straight down. We have 3 or 4 big feathers all the way back here. Okay, so once you're done with that, I'll give you 2 minutes to finish, 1 minute to finish, but once you're done with that, we'll get started with our darkest color. So we'll make a very dark pink, almost red, orangey red. And I like to usually start with 3 main colors, a very dark pink, a medium pink, and then a very light one. And then I start mixing colors so I can get in between those 3 main ones. So now we're going to mix our darkest color. So I bring my red to my pile here. And I think it's a little bit too bright. So to tone it down, the opposite of red is green. So you can add green or you can add black, whatever works for you. If you don't have green, you can mix green with yellow and blue. So I'm gonna put some paint here. I'll mix the green with you and then we'll add it to the red to make it darker. Or it's your choice if you just want to add a little bit of black, that's fine too. If you already have colors in a tube like green, pink, and other colors, you can use that one. A lot of people only have the basic colors, so that's why I tend to mix them so they know how to mix it. So I'm just putting blue and yellow in my palette, and I'll mix them together to make green. Just a little bit, you don't need too much. So this is the green I mixed. And I'm just adding it to the red. Add it, every time you add a color, make sure you barely put any color, like a very small, just a very, very small amount on the side. And then I start mixing because it's easy to put too much. So just a little bit more red. You see how that brings that brightness down? That brings that brightness down. And it's a deeper color, but also darker, and it's still red. So I like this color. So we're gonna paint the darkest areas. I'm gonna show you my color here on the tape. If you think yours needs to be darker, remember add green, just a tiny bit, or a tiny bit of black, whatever works. If you added too much, that's okay, then just add more red again. So I want to paint the darkest areas first, which is the shadow, which is basically underneath here. Our light is basically coming from here, so the opposite side is where we get the shadows. So underneath here, don't worry if it's if the area that you're painting is large, we can always go back with lighter color where needed. And then he has a little bit of a shadow here. So I don't have too much paint on my brush. And I'm just gonna make a few strokes going up to the right. And I like it when I don't have too much paint because it gives it a nice effect of the previous painting coming through, the previous color coming through.
Did you,
Yeah.
did you put white in the middle?
No, that's just the paper.
The
We're
paper,
gonna
okay.
paint over it.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. And I can see that below, right here below the head, it's also a little bit darker. And over here underneath those big feathers, there's a shadow. If you think you painted too much or the dark area is too large on yours, that's okay. We can always, we're gonna go back with different colors and paint a little bit over our dark red, not completely, but just a little bit. A lot of the times when I'm looking at a picture, all the details in the picture gets a little bit overwhelming. So what I sometimes do is I squint my eyes so it looks a little bit blurry, and then I try to look at the big shapes. So I see a big shape of dark color here and a big shape of light color here. So because sometimes when we look too closely at all the feathers and detail, it gets confusing. So that's something you can do. Just squint your eyes and see the big shapes or blocks of color And our next color, it is going to be just one step lighter than this. And by one step, I mean, and whenever I put it right next to it, I want to see the difference. If I can't really see the difference, then it needs to go a little bit lighter. So to mix that new color, you can clean your brush just with the paper towel. No need to put it in the water, just paper towel. And then I grab red, yellow, and white. And I mix those colors. I put yellow so it's a little bit more orangey. So this is my first color. Let's see if I can see the difference here, so I'm gonna go with it.
Red, yellow, and
And white, just a little
white.
bit of red and white. Sorry, a little bit of white and yellow. And anytime I mix a new color, I put it on the side first. Sorry. So let's say I grab yellow. I put it on the side. I don't put it right on my color because sometimes it's too much. And I slowly add it to my mix because that way it's less likely that you're gonna put too much. Oh yeah, this is my color. And then I'm gonna paint right next to my dark color. So I'm painting right next to it, maybe some parts even over it, but I don't want to cover all of it. And I start whenever I have a lot of paint. So as soon as I grab paint from my palette, I put it wherever I see there's quite a bit of color. As I am running out of paint, I start doing where it looks like there's more feathers and things like that because I like to drag my brush with not too much paint on it. And there's a little bit of a shadow here. I think it's from the wing. And I start making a little suggestions of my directions for the feathers if you have any paint left. So a little bit curved here. And upwards at the bottom. And once I'm done with that, I just wipe my brush, my paper towel. You don't need to, I only use the water whenever I'm changing color. Let's say I am using blue and now I want to use red. That's where I really clean it because these colors are too similar or it's still red. I don't really clean it in water. I have two brushes that I use, but I'm just gonna continue with one. Anytime you're done with a brush or even or taking a break from a brush, put it in water so you don't damage the brushes. And if you're done with that second color, we're gonna go to color number 3. So same idea, I wanna make it lighter than my last color, but I wanna make sure I can see the difference. If it's too close, it needs to go a little bit lighter. So to mix, we're gonna go back and I'm gonna add red. This time I'm adding a bit more white on the side here. And then a tiny bit of yellow also on the side. I start mixing it, slowly dragging my addition to my main color. You see I just barely touched the white and it's already quite light, quite a bit lighter. So I slowly add more and more. This way you'll get the color you want faster rather than going back and forth. So this to my eye looks lighter, but let's test it right here. Just a little bit lighter, but I think we can go even lighter. So this was my last color. Yep, I can see the difference. So I'm gonna use that color. If you're grabbing color, I try to grab it with the tip of my brush because whenever I'm painting, I don't need to put a lot of pressure on my brush. If the paint is all the way to the bottom down here, then I really have to put a lot of pressure to transfer it. So you want to avoid that. So let's start with the neck here. So anytime I'm painting small detail, you can either come close if that's more comfortable, or I just place my hand on the easel. I have a lot of paint on my brush, so I'm gonna start with the neck. So I put a lot of pressure down, coming down, and here I barely touch it, and I get very soft strokes. I put a little bit more pressure here. So try to think where the direction of the feathers are. So right here, my feathers are going up to the right, and here they're going down to the right. So my brush strokes will be the same.
cute.
We have a very nice singer in the
Yeah.
background.
Good. And how
Entertainment.
Yeah.
so cute.
Oops, sorry. So just quick brush strokes following the direction of the feathers. And the top here is lighter. So check your, I know we already did the outline, but if you think that you want to change the shape a little bit, you can always do that.
Maybe change this.
And always remember to take a second to step back and look at the entire picture. Sometimes we focus so much on just a small area. Then when we walk back, we forget that maybe this side over here was also the same color or smaller or bigger. So always step back and look at your painting. I think we're gonna do maybe 3 more colors before we go to the last step, which is the highlights, which is my favorite part. Let's mix a new color. So you can, if you still have our last color, this is mine. So let's add more white. And yellow. My last color was this one. I put it on the side. Maybe it can go a little bit later. Again on the side. I think that's lighter. So I am going to start here more of the highlights. And don't paint the entire area like that. You want to just barely touch the paper with the tip of your brush and a quick stroke. Same up here, comes down like that. You can change to a smaller brush as well if you want to. Gonna change to another brush, but it's just because mine is too long and I'm hitting the camera. So you don't want to cover the entire area that we paint because you want part of the previous colors to show through or go through. But just, yeah. And the outer edge here, just a little bit lighter. And for next color, I want to leave it just as light as it is, but I want to make it more orangey, brighter orange. So if you have orange, You can put a little bit more orange or yellow if you're painting with orange. So I mix red and yellow gives me orange. Depending on the red that you have, you may get a brighter orange, which is fine as well. I'm not really adding white, just whatever was on my brush. I just want to make a little bit of a few highlights here of orangey color. So it's not only the one color that we see, but a few more. I think it's usually just a few strokes. That's it, not too much. Maybe over here. Just a little bit, and that's it. That was my orange. And our next step will be a lighter pink. So this is how I usually like to paint. I like with the darkest colors and or values, and then slowly go lighter and lighter, and the highlights at the end. So we're still, so now I think this was our medium to dark pinks. Now we're gonna start our medium to light pinks. So this is the pink I had. I'm running out, so I'll mix more. I have red, yellow, and white. And as I go lighter and lighter, I'm just adding more. So these are my 3 colors I'm mixing. Anytime you see your color is too, let's say my color is too yellow, then I just add the other 2 colors. Thinking it's more white, I'm just gonna, yeah, that's exactly the same as I had it before. Even though my palette, it looks really light, when I put it here, it's just the same as this one. So it's always important that you compare the color that you mix with the previous one, because a lot of the times it's the same one, even though it doesn't look like it. So you need to make sure you're actually getting lighter and lighter. Otherwise, at the end, you will not see like a painting with lots of depth. So this is my color. It looks lighter, even though the camera doesn't really pick it up. Yeah, so this was my previous color. Now I'm here. If you have a smaller brush, you can start using that one, because we're gonna go with we're gonna start drawing a lot more detail. If you only have the one, that's fine. Just don't put a lot of pressure. On the brush. Okay. That's a lot lighter over here. Just feathers, left to right, or the direction that they're going. You see how there is not too much paint, and it's just on the tip of my brush, and very lightly, not too much pressure. So at the bottom is this area closer to this wing right here that is lighter. Don't do too much here because that's a shadow. And at the top, it gets lighter here. And that's my first light pink. The idea is that you let the previous colors show through. If at some point you think you painted too much of one color, you can always go back to the darker ones.
What am I doing?
So I'll give you another minute to catch up. And I wanted to tell you that if there's a subject that you really want to paint, you can let me know, and then we can do it for one of our classes. Last year we did a lot of landscapes, a few portraits, and we do pencil as well, pencil drawings. We've done animals, I think 1 or 2 people, I think. We did a few places. We did Paris Eiffel Tower and a landscape from Japan. And so basically anything you want to try, just let me know and we can try for one of the classes.
Silvanna, I'll translate that in Chinese.
Perfect, thank you.
頭先老師講咧，如果你哋有啲乜嘢特別嘅題目要畫㗎，或者要學啲乜嘢新嘅嘢，唔該提供，你同我講啦，咁我會同老師講。剛才老師講，如果有什麼特別的題目，你們要畫的有什麼新的 你们要学的就跟我讲，我就跟老师讲。
Perfect. Thank you, May. So I'm adding more white to my color. Just white. Maybe a dot of yellow. But I did add a lot of white. More white to my pink. And I compare here. Too similar. Too close. So more white. Okay, that looks different. So let's go with that. So I added more white, a lot, and a little bit of yellow. And again, where are my highlights? I'm using a big brush, but I'm not putting lots of pressure and just using the tip for the big feathers over here. At the top here is very bright. I'm gonna go, this was a round brush. I'm gonna go back to a flat brush like this so I can paint the feathers a little bit more easily. Don't forget the head, a little bit of highlights there. Just gonna go back to my darkest color here a bit. Just a few highlights here. So look at your picture, take a step back and think, is my dark enough?
Flamingo.
Yeah. If you have not used pink, but you do have pink, you can use it now. So just, if you want to use it, just test it against the side or at the bottom or even on your own palette. Because whenever you mix colors, you can make any color from the 3 primary colors, except the ones that are neon or super bright. So if this is the pink I have from the bottle, it's quite brighter. It's nice, but you don't need to use it if you don't have it. But if you do and want to put a little bit more color, test it. Use it's light. It's quite light and bright. So be careful and watch where you put it. Strokes here and there. You just want little indications of that color. Not too much. If you don't have it, that's fine. You don't need it. Remember to step back, squint your eyes, and see. Okay, that's all the pink I want to use. I'm going to go back to my other color. So this is my regular pink that I made with red and white. I'm just going over with very light strokes over the white I already had. So this is my light pink. I am making a darker pink again, just red and a little bit of white. And just go over the dark areas again. This section over here is dark. And the one at the bottom is a little bit darker. And then after you're happy with your touch-ups, we're gonna go with a lighter. I think that will be our last light pink before the highlights. So I'm gonna grab quite a bit of white. And I mix with my previous color, my pink, and I will make sure I see the difference. So this was my last pink. It could be a little bit lighter. Yeah, that's lighter. And I keep painting feathers. So it's going back and forth until you're happy with your painting. So whenever my brush is loaded, I start at the top because that's where the most highlights are. And as I run out of paint, I go down. So just a little bit more feathers here and there. And then after this, we're gonna go back and forth with our pinks. Before we do that, this is the white I have. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow, or actually quite a bit of yellow. I want a light color. And we're gonna draw, the right here. Straight, and then it comes down. And at the bottom is more curved. And it goes all the way into the face like this. Actually, it just starts further into the head. We're gonna wait for that to dry a little bit, and then we'll add the black tip at the bottom and the pink. So at this point, it's wherever you're at, just go back and forth with the colors that we already created. So you can make dark pinks again, or light, and just back and forth, and that will give it a nice mix and it will look very nice. So I want to go maybe a little bit more with pinks, darker pinks over here. So you can even get two brushes. On one you can have the dark colors, and the other one you can have the other ones. So let me show you. So I have my two pencil brushes right here, one with the lights, one with the darks. And then just look at your picture thing where it needs to get darker. This area needs to get darker and more defined. my painting. This has a little bit more highlights. Making darker areas here. I just put my brush into the water to make it a little bit more runny, but barely anything. Like I don't grab too much water. Just so I can draw this edge a little bit more smoothly. So the key is to have a lot of contrast between your lights and your darks. If they're too close, too similar, then your painting will look very flat. So the nice thing with painting is that you can always go back and fix things or add more depth. So just look at your painting. Think, is my dark enough, or is my light enough? You see how my brush is almost dry with paint and I just drag it and I get like feathers. Then go back with light colors, back and forth. Okay, so while you continue to go back and forth with your darks and lights, I am going to finish this black section over here so you can do it after I'm done so you know what you're drawing. For that, I think it's easier to use a, actually, if you have a little bit of pink on your brush, there's a tiny pink area. Sorry, let me show you. Pink, orangey pink. All right, I'm just mixing my orange. It's just a tiny area over here at the bottom. That is darker. Okay. So I'm gonna do the black. I will use a round brush just because it's pointy. And just pure black. And grab the paint with the tip of your brush so it's easier to paint. You can dip your brush into the water for 1 second and then go back to your palette and grab more black. That way it's a little bit smoother and it's easier to draw. And her eye, and then legs, and then highlights, and we're done. You're always welcome to continue drawing after the class if you feel like you need to add more things. Actually, the eye is not so dark, so I'm just gonna paint it with a light green. So I'm mixing blue and yellow. More yellow than blue. Actually has green eyes or yellow eyes. Actually, it was closer to here. Sorry, I think I made the eye too far up. So we're just gonna fix it.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna do the legs with a darker red, orange, and then we're done. So this is just red with a little bit of white and a lot of yellow. And I'm gonna put a little bit of black in that color.
唔記得上堂。唔記得上堂。
今日啊，不如我哋十雞。
係啊。
A few shadows. So the shadow is at the top only because that's where the body is covering. And if you're at this point with me, or I'll give you 1 more minute to do the legs and the head, the eye. The last color we're going to do is the white for the highlights. And after that, you can sign. We always sign and date our paintings.
冇隻腳嘅，隻腳都冇叉嘅。
Tiny dot for the pupil right here. So usually at this point, because of time, we're not able to do the background, but anytime you do a full painting, you want to fix things, you can always go with the color of the background and change things if you needed to.
Okay, my Flamingo need sunglasses. Okay.
And I always say that the hardest part about a painting is knowing when to stop, because you could go on forever going back and forth with colors. But let's go ahead and finish with our highlights. I'm gonna grab a flat brush, smaller brush. Make sure it's clean. You can dip it in the water and remove the excess water. And I'm going to grab basically just pure white. Sorry, so this is my white right here, just white. And I'm just going to do a few strokes here and there that are the lightest section. Very small, very light pressure. Just a few highlights. This actually is light. The pink is quite. And sometimes I go with a dry brush. It's just dry to make it a little bit rougher. Acrylic dries very fast. Okay, that is our flamingo. And always sign at the bottom with your name. I usually just write the year. You can write the full date if you want to, but it's always nice to look back over the years, how much you have learned. You can use any color really to sign. I'm gonna use pink. You can use black. I usually use any color that I used in the painting. Sorry.
Change.
你们画好了可以签名，畫好咗可以簽名啊。
And that is our painting.
It's so beautiful.
Okay. I hope you all had fun. And then at the end of the class, we like to show our paintings to the camera if you're comfortable with that.